Hello, dear friends. This topic is very complex because it has no simple answers, but I have tried to simplify the language as much as possible so that everyone can understand. Opinion piece. Quantum versus blockchain. Quantum system against the blockchain one. Quantum supremacy would break the Bitcoin. This is known as hack today, crack tomorrow. Quantum computing would threaten the blockchain system. Crypto world prepares for quantum decryption. Google's quantum technology would be a threat to Bitcoin. Quantum computing would threaten the future of cryptos. Google announced a commercial quantum computer by 2029. Quantum supremacy would put cryptocurrencies in a bind. It would cause the disappearance of the cryptocurrency currently in use. It would force much more complex post-quantum cryptography to be applied. Quantum computing would lead to changes in the blockchain system. Let's start. Ever since Google announced that it achieved quantum supremacy, there have been a growing number of articles on the web predicting the demise of currently used cryptography in general, and Bitcoin in particular. In fact, Google's quantum technology is a threat to Bitcoin. Google generated consent in the cryptographic community when it claimed to have developed quantum technology capable of solving impossible mathematical problems, which would imply a threat to Bitcoin. The blockchain, throughout encryption, protects the private data of its user, such as names, passwords, and wallet information. But quantum computers could decrypt users' private keys, then forge transaction signatures on their behalf, and access their digital assets. Andrew Fersman, a quantum expert, said of the future of cryptocurrencies, in quotes, "It's mathematically proven that if you have a device that looks like the kind of quantum computers that people want to build, it would be able to decrypt this information much better than with classical devices." All known classical algorithms for deriving the private key from the public key require an astronomical amount of time to perform such a computation and are therefore impractical. However, in 1994, mathematician Peter Shor published a quantum algorithm that can break the security assumption of most common asymmetric cryptography algorithms. This means that anyone with a sufficiently large quantum computer could use this algorithm to derive a private key from its corresponding public key and thereby forge any digital signature. The announcement. Google announced a commercial quantum computer by 2029, according to the Wall Street Journal. The tech giant is one of many companies vying to build a business around the nascent technology. Alphabet Inc.'s Google plans to spend several $1 billion to build a quantum computer by 2029 that can perform large-scale, error-free, commercial and scientific calculations. Google says it will need to build a 1 million qubit machine capable of reliable, error-free calculations. Its current systems have less than 100 qubits. What Google called quantum supremacy implies that it has the power to solve calculations that would be attainable for ordinary computers. But although the company claimed to achieve this feat, evidence of it was only published on the NASA website for a short time. This information was then removed from the website. This Google quantum technology could solve problems in 200 seconds than other computers would take 10,000 years to solve. If a machine is able to solve mathematical problems that fast, the Bitcoin transaction verification system through miners would be compromised. Bitcoin and all other cryptocurrencies based on blockchain technology are based on complex mathematical problems. It is this feature that provides confidence in digital communication. However, if a computer capable of solving these equations quickly enough is developed, it could take control of Bitcoin, and this is what Google claims to have created with its quantum technology. Threat. Which cryptography algorithms are threatened by quantum computing? Powerful quantum computers could become a threat to all blockchains that rely on the elliptic curve digital signature algorithm, including Bitcoin and Ethereum. ECDSA has become the gold standard in key creation under the public key cryptographic system used to sign transactions on most blockchains. This system allows us to create a 256-bit random private key and a derived public key that we can share with any third party. It is then difficult to find the private key that generated the public key, but quantum computers can employ an algorithm to disentangle the mathematical relationship between a public key and a private key, thus revealing and compromising the private key. Quantum computers won't kill the blockchain, but they could bring about fundamental changes to the underlying cryptography. The main selling point of the blockchain and its applications is that the cryptographically secure distributed records are virtually unbreakable under normal circumstances, given the current state of computing technology. However, their validity is highly dependent on the state of the technology. If a paradigm shift in computing were to occur, contemporary blockchain-based systems could become vulnerable to threats that are not taken into account during their design. Post-quantum cryptography. Post-quantum cryptography refers to cryptographic algorithms that are believed to be secure against the cryptanalytic attack by a quantum computer, but the most popular public key algorithms can be effectively broken by a strong quantum computer. All of these problems can be easily solved on a sufficiently powerful quantum computer. Although current publicly known experimental quantum computers lack the processing power to break any real cryptography algorithm, many cryptographers are designing new algorithms to prepare for a time when quantum computing becomes a threat. This work has gained increased attention from academics and industry throughout a series of conferences since 2006 and more recently throughout several workshops on secure quantum cryptography organized by the European Telecommunication Standards Institute and the Quantum Computing Institute. In contrast to the threat posed by quantum computer to current public key algorithms, most current symmetric cryptography algorithms and functions are considered relatively secure against attacks by quantum computers. While Grover's quantum algorithm would accelerate attacks against symmetric ciphers, doubling the key size could block these attacks. Therefore, post-quantum symmetric cryptography need not differ significantly from current symmetric cryptography. Alternatives. Against this threat, there are two alternatives. Post-quantum cryptography has more sophisticated algorithms for the generation of asymmetric keys, whose security against quantum computing is temporary, according to Marcos Allende Lopez. The second alternative would be quantum symmetric cryptography. Quantum technology makes it possible to generate random symmetric keys with quantum random number generators and to share them so that they change if someone tries to stop them. Information or data encrypted with traditional asymmetric cryptography that can be intercepted and stored today could be decrypted when quantum computers are ready. This is known as hack today, crack tomorrow, and urges us to start looking for solutions. The confidentiality of information on the internet and the identification of entities, websites, and servers is based on the public key infrastructure, in other words, asymmetric cryptography. And this cryptography could be breached throughout quantum computing with Shor's algorithm. If this were to happen, the internet could become insecure, with practices such as the so-called man in the middle, where someone unauthorized intercepts and modifies information that travels between nodes and wallets. There are alternatives to build fully quantum blockchains. They are based on the phenomenon of entanglement and on the impossibility of copying quantum states, since when observing a quantum system it changes and it is impossible to clone it. This blockchain technology would be completely different from the current one and would offer complete security, as it would be based on physical processes and not on the mathematical difficulty of inventing digital signatures, hash. In quantum computing, if quantum computing becomes capable of reversing this effectively, this type of solution would be the only viable blockchain solution. Everything is in flames. Everything is in flames according to Heraclitus. What Heraclitus meant is that the world is in a state of constant change. But the big problem is in the coming years is that the world will experience a fire of a magnitude never before seen in history. But at certain times in history, fire is catastrophic, and that is where the world is now. Fires have already started everywhere. Stock markets are on fire, as are real estate markets, as are bond and debt markets. The problem is that fires are initially explosive, but always end up imploding inside. We have talked about inflation going throughout the roof, and it's not just happening in stocks. Real estate markets are literally exploding, especially high-end real estate. We see this all over the world. For example, HSBC reported the highest number of mortgages ever issued in March. In Sweden, properties are selling for up to 40% above asking the price in a frenzied building war, and second-hand pleasure boats are in such demand that they cost virtually the same as a new boat. And if you want a new boat, there aren't any available until 2022. It also seems that people are desperate for company after the closures, as the price of pubs in the UK is up to 100% higher than last year. Yes, everything is really on fire, as people are desperate to spend after a year of blockades and restrictions. 10 million Americans do not pay rent or mortgages. Markets are at record highs and hysterical. We live in a strange world. The next crash would make the 2009 crisis seem minor. The free money would have to be repaid at some point. That debt would lead to bankruptcy if corporations couldn't make a profit in 5 or 10 years. We are now in the year 13 of basically free money, and when the free money stopped, the trouble would begin. Short news. Cyber attacks continue around the world. 70 European and South American banks under attack by bizarre banking malware. Biden is actually Jim Carrey in a mask. Keep in mind that politician shows are much easier to make than Hollywood action science fiction movies. One event would activate the military in a very public way. At that point, a transition and transfer of power would begin. Stock rise. US stocks closed Wednesday's session with modest gains as recent comments from the Fed officials helped quell worries about runaway inflation and kept bond yields in check. Gold falls from 4 months high and bond yields rebound. Gold fell from the highest level in more than 4 months as treasury yields rebounded, hurting demand for the non-interest bearing metal. Amazon buys Metro. Amazon has announced the purchase of movie studio Metro Goldwyn Mayer for $8.45 billion. The company's second largest acquisition since it bought the Whole Foods in 2017 for $13.7 billion. UFOs fly near nuclear facilities. UFO sightings should be taken seriously, as the unidentified objects could pose a threat on U.S. national security, Fox News anchor Abby Hornacek said. Science. Iceberg the size of Mallorca breaks off Antarctica to become world's largest floating ice mass. A giant iceberg measuring more than 4,000 square kilometers has broken off the Rome ice shelf in Antarctica. The iceberg, named A66, is now the world's largest floating ice mass. The size of the massive iceberg rivals many large islands around the world and is larger than the Spanish island of Mallorca, which measures only 3,667 square kilometers. The iceberg is quite long and narrow. It is 170 kilometers long and only 25 kilometers wide. Modified virus makes cancer kill itself. A new medical technology developed in Switzerland harnesses a modified virus for the protection and transport of various anti-tumor therapy agents within cancer-affected human tissue. The antibodies, cytokines, and other signaling substances required for treatment in this case are produced by the cancer cells themselves and destroy the tumor from within. A study reveals that alcohol consumption can shrink the brain. A team of scientists has shown that any type of alcohol consumption, including moderate, is linked to lower grey matter density. Scientists from the city of Oxford suggest that the more alcohol consumed, the smaller the brain volume, and the more you drink, the greater the negative impacts on the brain. World's smaller chip developed. Engineers at Columbia University have developed the world's smallest wireless chip, a device the size of a dust mite that in the future could be inserted into the human body with a hypodermic needle to monitor medical conditions. The study was published in early May in the journal Science Advances. Russia starts up a plasma reactor that reproduces the physical reaction of the sun. It was designed to reproduce the physical reactions that occur in the sun and other stars, and to use the potential of nuclear fusion as a source of clean and unlimited energy. The Russian T-15MD tokamak has been put into operation at the Kurchatov Research Center. It is the first thermonuclear reactor of this type built in the last 20 years. Metals found in comets far from the sun, and scientists are astonished. Two studies carried out thanks to observatories installed in Chile proved the presence of iron and nickel on the surface of comets far away from the sun. The finding suggests the existence of a hitherto unknown material in the nucleus of comets. Twin solar flares captured in incredible detail. Using a variety of probes, including the new solar orbiter, NASA and ESA have captured multiple solar flares composed of billions of tons of plasma in unprecedented detail. At the center of our galaxy, there would be no a black hole but something different. This assumption is based on the study of trajectories of 17 stars near Sagittarius. The center of the Milky Way would harbor a core of dark matter and not a black hole, according to a study by scientists from Italy, Colombia, and Argentina. Divided realities. The evidence is all around us that our reality is splitting into a 3D timeline and a 5D timeline, with a chaotic 4D in between. We are now being given an obvious opportunity to choose which timeline resonates with each and every one of us. We can choose between a hidden mind-controlled existence or a compassionate, independent, free-thinking, intuitive, open existence. We are shown that we can take the 3D timeline based on words with distorted meanings, logic, reason, and distract, or take the 5D timeline based on heart-centered intuition, inner feelings, and trust. One keeps us where we are, with endless wars, debt, disease, and lies, and the other brings us closer to peace, abundance, health, truth, and the Creator. On one side, there is the dark side of the force that have had an almost unlimited free reign on the surface of the planet for hundreds of thousands of years. But now, on the other side, there are the forces of light and the digital soldiers who are making great efforts and advances to eliminate these negative forces as soon as possible. Every day, we human beings move one step closer to full disclosure. The expectation now is a mass awakening. Grassroots movements have to eliminate oppression. Everything in our world is false. The sooner people realize this, the better for everyone. The employed freelance journalist is censored and not allowed to report real investigative news. Entertainment is permeated with lies, fantasies, propaganda, and empty false impressions, while corporate public relations or advertising are nothing more than fake feel-good marketing gimmicks. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.